Hey, I'm Jeff Streeter. I'm from Toledo, Ohio, and I am a grateful recovering alcoholic and addict.
Well, Streeter, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and join us here at the Ohio Guidestone office in Perrysburg, Ohio.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we're really great to have you. So I want to start at the beginning. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood, your family life, any kind of trauma that you might have experienced?
So I grew up in very middle-class, blue-collar Toledo, Ohio. I had a stepdad who thought it was funny to put liquor in my baby bottle and watch me stagger in my Pampers before I was even a year old. He also had a great liquor cabinet, so that's how I found blackberry brandy. So long before I was even in junior high at that time, which would have been 7th, 8th grade, I had alcohol in my system every year of my life. As I got into late 5th, early 6th grade, was introduced to like cigarettes and marijuana and stuff like that. So I started that. And then just about towards the end of my high school career, my buddy's dad had cocaine in his drawer and found that. And that's really the drug that I identify with the most because I'm hyperactive. I love being on the go. So it just took me to that like next level of just that being high all the time. I was raped and molested by a male neighbor from the age of 11 to 16. So I know once I really got into my active use, it just became one of those things that suppressed all my shame and embarrassments and everything and a lot of the trauma that I had incurred. So there was that. However, some of that happened, but my mom would also drop me off at the local Y. And so I would just kind of be there and so I learned how to play soccer young. So even through high school, I was a 4-year varsity letterman playing soccer. So I was doing all, sneaking the drugs, the drinking and everything else while still, playing soccer and being active. So it was that double life, that I was kind of living already. After getting out of high school and everything else, I wanted to play soccer at the collegiate level and everything else, but music was my passion. It's just that, it could speak to you in so many different ways. And so I was living the lifestyle of that, what was going on in Hollywood and everything else, that sleaze rock type stuff. It wasn't always negative. There was a lot of great times, a lot of fun, everything else. It's just, I noticed whenever I was in trouble, I was drunk or high, and it was like, okay. So April 28th, 2004, I got in some trouble based on getting into a fight with somebody. I went home that night, destroyed the house, punched the walls, smashing dishes, looked in the mirror and was just disgusted with who I was. And so ultimately, I laid down and as I was falling asleep, I'm staring at the wall and I just was like, this isn't who I am. I'm ashamed of myself. Then I was thinking my dad would be ashamed of me. Then I was thinking my grandfather who had passed on, who I had, nothing but great admiration for and everything, that he'd be embarrassed of me and what I was doing. So I just kind of fell asleep. I then woke up feeling the exact same way. And I was like, man, something's got to change. And I rolled over and I woke up and I'm staring at the ceiling thinking, I'm embarrassed of myself. My dad would be embarrassed. And I have nothing but high regard for my dad and everything. And so, and as well as my grandfather, I'm like, Dad be embarrassed of me. My grandfather be embarrassed of me. And so I'm just sitting there like internally reflecting, not really knowing, because I'd never tried recovery, knew nothing about recovery, just laying there. And so my boss, who was with me that night, who was just down the street, who lived just down the street from the bar that we were at when all this stuff happened, called me and said, don't go to work. The detective just left my house. They're going to go to work and arrest you today. And so I laid low. It wasn't the first time I was in trouble. Called my attorney. He was doing stuff on the back end. I was just laying low. But I called another friend of mine who had a very similar life, was in music and everything else. And I saw his life just getting better. And I was like, man, how's your life getting better? So I'm at my first meeting by myself, not really knowing anybody, but I go in. And so I sit down, it's a big book meeting. And so they're reading story from the back of the big book called Safe Haven. And it's all about this radio DJ who had a troubled youth, talked about how like during this storm, he's sitting on his back patio and he's like, hey, the more I drank, the bigger the storm got, the bigger the story got. And ultimately the next day, the local newspaper recognized him for having such a great story. And so I was like, that's me. All the BS, the gift of gab and everything else. I need to do some more reading. So talked to a couple people. Somebody handed me a big book, said go, read the first 164 pages, do that. And in doing so, I was like, how did they write this in like 1938 when I wasn't born until 1972? So I've called it the Book of Mirrors ever since, because it just spoke to me so well. And so about 2 months into my recovery, I was like, I want to do something different. I want to go into counseling. So I was looking at all the different schools and everything else. And so found Lourdes, and it just spoke to me. I got my undergrad in 3.5 years, and I got my master's in just under a year, which was like a year program. So I just went to school for basically just under 5 years. So I was a little tired. So I stayed in like the food service industry just for a couple months when I got the call that says, hey, do you want to work with kids who have, chemical dependency issues? Yes, that's why I went to school. And this person knew that. And so since that point in time, it's in 2009, it has just been a go of working in the field of social work with co-occurring disorders and stuff like that, working with the court systems, working with Children's Services, our Mental Health and Recovery Services Board, trying to develop programs that are more inviting to people to, entice them into a healthier lifestyle choice. So I've came up with this philosophy. For some, this is a job. For some, this is a passion. For me, this is a calling. It never feels like work to me. So work is work. However, it's something like I said, I would do for free. Family is phenomenal. I have 4 amazing children. However, on today is the anniversary actually of my youngest daughter out of my 4 who died by suicide. So I had to deal with all of that. So I know she guides me every day in kind of doing that. She knew me sober after the debauchery and chaos of life with me before that. And then I have 6 amazing grandchildren, And so today, being a part of their life and being able to go and be invited based on how I was before is a true blessing. 4 days ago, I celebrated 1-year anniversary with my wife, somebody that is just, phenomenal and gets me. We're definitely yin and yang. I'm more extroverted and she's like, yeah, go do you, So it's like, if we go do things, it's very, pre-planned, those who fail to plan to fail kind of thing. But it's like pre-planned of what we're going to do and everything else, because if it's something that she doesn't want to do, she's like, go enjoy yourself. So it's a lot of trust and a lot of, love and appreciation for each other. So, there's that. My dad is 3/4 of a century old, and, we get to do a lot of things together, and just, he still gives me a lot of great guidance and a lot of positive reassurance and positive affirmation for the things that I do and things that he sees me in. Still doing music a little bit here and there, not like I was back in the day. It just takes a lot more time to do. But just life is grand, so.
Awesome. What do you do today to maintain your mental, physical, and spiritual health?
So I'm active in the church. I actually do readings at the church and everything else. So spiritually, that's that lot of self-reflection and just being outside. I love being, out in nature, unless it's cold, but welcome to the Northwest, So there's that. Go to meetings. primarily the majority of people I'm around in my personal life are in recovery or are very much an ally of people in recovery. So it's, people, places, and things.
Okay, so I'd like you to describe a feeling that you've received in your recovery that was not there during your active use.
I'd say contentment, being able to just be still. Like I said earlier, hyperactive. I love moving around. I love being active. So being able to sit still and be comfortable in my own skin is huge. So finding that serenity and just peace with myself, regardless of what's going on around me, not having to, jump into the chaos if it's there or go searching for it, so just being able to be content and be okay.
What are some internal and external motivators that keep you in recovery?
It's all really one and the same for me because I've been around long enough to know that it doesn't take long for you to pick up where you left off. And so for me, I was on my way to prison for what I had done pretty much. And then I was already lucky to be alive at that point too. So if it doesn't take long to pick up where I left off, it means I'm either going to be in prison or dead. Those don't sound like good options to me today, being able to be with my family and my friends and everything else and do this for a living and help other people. So even to some of that, with where I'm at, not that I should put this pressure on myself, but we still do in a sense, where it comes down to other people see me as that person who has made it out of certain things. So if I'm that inspiration to somebody and I go back, what's that saying to them? If he can't do it, how am I expected to? So again, I know I'm not supposed to take that on myself, but I'm at that point now where I feel very confident in my recovery, have no desire to drink or drug. However, I manage it, today to make sure that that's not a path I'm going to go back down. For those of you who are out there still struggling, trying to find your path, don't give up. Lean on people. You don't have to do this alone. Ask for help. It shows greater strength by asking for help than trying to muscle through this or do this behind the scenes all on your own. No matter what you have been through, that is only a matter of time. That time is the thing that takes away and never gives back. You can't change that. It is what it is. However, what you do going forward will speak much louder than maybe some of the mistakes or the trauma or negativity that you've been through in life. Know we're out here praying for you, sending positive energy, positive vibes, just wanting you to be the best version of you.
Streeter, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us here at the Ohio Guidestone office in Perrysburg to share your inspiration and hope for those who need to hear it most. Your story will help to spread awareness, humanize addiction and stigma, and inspire hope one story at a time.
Thanks, it's my pleasure.